We talk a lot about red flags in the marriage industry, but almost no one is teaching how to recognize good character. And that's a problem because the people who look the most exciting aren't always the ones who have the depth, integrity, and consistency to build a life with, a marriage that lasts. So today we're shifting gears. We're going to be giving you 5 signs of good character that most people overlook because this is what actually predicts a healthy, lasting marriage. We're ready?
Ironically enough,
Yeah.
in the video game industry, we talk a lot about good characters, but no one talks about marriage.
Okay, so we really are shifting gears. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we show you how to find and build a marriage that lasts as a Muslim. I'm Zahra Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and we've been married 4.5 years.
And if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. It really helps us out. And with that, let's get started.
Let's get started.
So this week's episode is entitled 5 Signs of Good Character That Most People Overlook. So obviously do you remember why we're talking about character here?
Yes.
Okay, tell me.
But I'll let you explain it for the audience.
Of course. So in this series, series of, we'll call it the green flag series, whereas before we talked about the red flag series, when a person is looking for a spouse, they're to pay attention to 4 things. And all of them conveniently start with C.
Their beauty.
Yeah. Well, no. Number 1 is compatibility. Number 2 is character. Number 3 is capacity. And number 4 is connection. Now, we've spoken about capacity last week. We did a whole episode on that. When it comes to compatibility, there is a free PDF called the Compatibility Guide. That's always in the link in the description. Connection is something that people we've talked about it a lot on this channel, but it's something that people instinctively look for. And that leaves us with character. That's what we're going to talk about today. So before, whenever we talked about character, we've always defined it as the character that you would like your child who's the same gender as this partner to have, right? That's how you determine whether or not an individual has good character, is that would you want your child to have the same character as them?
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to become a lot more specific. And before we get started with the specifics, let me ask you, when you are searching for a spouse, is character something that you selected for?
Yes.
How did you?
First, I would choose for beauty, and then I would choose for character.
Oh, and you still ended up with me.
I ended up with you because I went with beauty and then character.
I appreciate that. So I'd be interested on what does good character look like from the perspective of a man looking for a woman?
Honestly, it's very complex because a lot of people might think it's got to do with is she going to nag me?
Yeah.
But that's not it. You want someone that sort of nags you here and then, every now and then, right? Because if they get complacent,
then
that means that there's no growth happening there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And no person's ever going to be 100% happy in this day and age with the efforts of their partner.
All right.
During the time of the Prophet Muhammad perhaps.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam,
right?
yeah.
But in this day and age, everyone has shortcomings, everyone has shortfalls, and there's always going to be room for improvement.
Okay.
And so you want a person who's not shy to try to push you to improve.
Okay, so that's a beautiful way to look at it, where you looked at good character as balanced to nagging. All right. It's an interesting character trait, but all right. It works.
I told you this when we were first talking. I said I'm looking for someone to help keep me motivated.
Well, of course. Yeah, that's definitely something that we're all looking for. But all right, so if we get back to the 5 signs we talked about in this episode. Sign number 1, and this applies to both men and women, right? But some of them apply more to women, but all of them can apply to men and women. So sign number 1 is solid follow through. What does that mean? It means does their words match their actions?
Mm-hmm.
Like if they say, I'm just going to use he because it's easier to use gendered language.
Yeah.
To the gentlemen who are listening, I'm so sorry. I genuinely apologize. Just substitute the she for wherever I
Okay,
say
so
he.
if he says, I'm going to the store to get milk,
Mm-hmm.
does he actually do that?
Yeah. Do you get the milk? Yeah, exactly. But in a more serious context, right? In general, when you're paying attention to whether or not his words match his actions, there are two dimensions to that. The first is implicit, and the second is explicit. Now, what does that mean? It means that in terms of implicitly, does the words, usually the words about him describing who he is and what he values, does that match up with what you see in real life, day-to-day life? Let's give an example. So if he says that he's a practicing Muslim and that religion is very important to him,
Mm-hmm.
and you ask about prayer and he says, yeah, I pray all 5 prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who prays all 5 prayers knows that they are always just aware of what time it is, because there's always another salah that's coming up. So you just instinctively know what time it is. And I've used this example many times because it's an important one. But if you are on the phone talking with him, and you see a prayer time come and go, and he doesn't say anything, that's information for you. That what maybe he's not as practiced, maybe he forgot, but if this is a pattern that keeps happening, maybe he's not as practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing can happen is if you and your wali go out somewhere with him. I would recommend that you don't bring up salah, and you ask your wali not to bring up salah.
Yeah.
And you both just sit there and pay attention and see if he brings up salah.
Yeah.
When it's inevitably time to pray. So that's a way to see implicitly, like not whether or not who he says he is matches up with what you see.
There is a limit to that as well, though, because like you don't bring up salah until it's time for you to pray.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Right?
You just give it a minute. I would say
Yeah.
I don't mean miss the prayer.
Yeah.
Right. I mean just give it a minute. Just give it like a couple of minutes and see if he brings it up, right? A second example of seeing whether or not who he says he is matches up with who he actually is social media. It's actually very helpful. Taking a look at their social media and seeing, are the values that they've stated, are they consistent with the values that they present? Or absence of social media,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if they say, you know what, I'm very introverted. I enjoy staying at home. Being in large crowds is very draining, right? These are all things that describe me that I know I told you about myself. And then you looked on social media and you saw me being in a whole bunch of parties. Something's going on, right?
Yeah.
I used to have a rule with my friends back when we were in school and we were in the dorm. I used to give them the advice that, and I'm dating myself here, but I used to give them an advice. If a gentleman has more than 250 Facebook friends, I would not really give him a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when Facebook was a thing. I don't know what the currency exchange is for Instagram or TikTok or whatever the social media is these days, right? But generally the activity, because nobody knows 250 people. I don't know if I know 25 people. That's a lot of people to know.
Not on a first name basis, at least.
Yeah, for sure. So there is that. So when it comes to explicit, whether or not his words match his actions, like they follow through in an explicit way. I probably should stop saying explicit so many times. I just realized. But what I mean by that is, for instance, do they call when they say they'll call? Like, so just direct and measurable things. Where he just says, I'm going to do A, and then all you have to do is pay attention to whether or not A happens or not. I'm going to do B, and then you just look for B. Does B happen or not? So it's not something that you're observing in a more subtle way. It is direct information.
Explicit is the right term.
Okay, yeah. So this is direct information. So a small example is he said he's going to call at, 6 p.m., and then you pay attention to whether or not he calls at 6 p.m. A larger example is if he says he wants marriage, he's serious about marriage. Does he progress the relationship? Like, does he progress the talking stage? in the direction of actually getting married? Does he ask for your wali's information? Does he want to meet your family? Does he move on? Like, does he slowly suggest whatever is the next step?
There's a limit to that, though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the limit. Assalamu alaikum, sister. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam.
Where do you live?
Okay, no. Yeah, no, I mean, so that is going to be addressed in an upcoming point. I really like that. So the pacing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pacing will come up in an upcoming point. That's scary. I'm not gonna lie. I was triggered by that. You'd be surprised how many people ask that.
Crazy.
Sign number 2. That brings us to sign number 2. This one's a little bit more abstract, so stay with me, but I think this is super important. Sign number 2 is, does he or she subtly do the right thing reflexively? Right? Like, do they without thinking, like, just naturally do the right thing? And you're gonna, if you pay attention to it and you know what you're looking for, you're going to see it in the smallest, tiniest little actions. And these small actions are very important in pointing to whether or not this person has a good character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So little examples. So for example, one of the things that I always recommend for clients is at some point, like, you're very serious, the talking stage is very serious. You guys have been moving steadily along. I recommend that one of the times that you go out with this person and your wali or whoever is accompanying you, you do errands, like shopping, just like regular day-to-day errands that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life with this individual. It's a very telling way to see them in an environment that is much more applicable to real life, right? Like, how many times have we gone to a coffee shop since we were married?
Not very often.
Exactly. But how many times do we go to the grocery store? I think we went earlier today, right?
Yeah.
So that's much more useful. So I always recommend an errands. So while you're out and about and you're running these errands, do they put away the shopping cart in the corral without thinking, right? Do they take obstructions out of the middle of the street without thinking? Do they walk out of their way to throw garbage in the right compartment? I know when you and I were in a talking stage, I pay attention to when you pick something up. And you know how in this country we have not a simple garbage can, but there's like this garbage can with like 5 different slots.
Yeah.
According to the material.
Mm-hmm.
You would pause to read and find out which one it is and put it in the right one. Like that's what you did reflexively. So it's and I put this example here, this next example, simply because it's extremely unlikely that it would happen, but for you to get an idea of the genre of things that you're looking for. Let's say you accidentally see their banking app, and you notice whether or not they're donating to a charity, because that's something that they would do that they would never really expect for other people to find out about. That would tell you a lot about their character, right? So it's probably never going to happen, but that gives you an idea of the types of things that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Now, the ones that are going to be the most valuable pieces of information are the ones that he or she does when they believe that no one else is looking. I always give this example because it's very important. Is the one where you and I were on the phone and you had for some reason forgotten. I think you thought I hung up and you thought that I was not on the phone. Right? And you weren't actively holding the phone to your ear. You just had earbuds in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were in a store and you had just purchased something and realized you hadn't paid for your bag, your plastic bag. So you went back in and you told them, I'm sorry, I forgot to pay for the bag. How do I pay for the bag? And they said, no, you don't have to. Don't worry about it. And you said, no, I really want to pay for the bag. And so you paid for the bag and you left and you didn't know that I could still hear you. So it's just something small that you did when you thought nobody was looking. And that gave me a lot of information about character, right? Now, it's important to pay attention to how that's different from actions that are done when people are obviously looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The things that are done, like you, as a human being, you get a sense for what is for show and what's genuine. Like you get a sense for what's just reflexive. Like, do they reflexively walk the shopping cart back to the corral? Or is it something that's like, oh, sorry, we forgot about this. Like, let me draw attention to it. Like, is it for show? Do you see what I'm saying? This distinguishment is important. Like, over the weekend, I came across a video on my For You page that I thought was brilliant. It was on the channel Women of Impact. I don't really watch a lot of their videos, but this thumbnail caught my attention, of a psychotherapist who works directly with psychopaths.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the people that she had been in a relationship with before was one of these psychopaths, and she describes before they were in a relationship, she saw him many times. That they would see an old lady or somebody across who would need help to go across the street, and they would get out of their car, they'd go out of their way to help this person across the street.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interviewer asked them, well, isn't that something good? Like, isn't that something selfless? And she said, no, because they knew I was watching.
Yeah. So
it was done for show.
Performative.
It was performative. That's the correct word. So it takes a little bit of paying attention to your intuition and your instincts to distinguish between what's performative and what's not. But it's generally the actions that are done seemingly without thinking, without announcement, without flourish, without anything. They just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay, now time for the ultimate test. Throw all that out the window, people.
All right.
This is the only test you need. You have a friend of yours, right? You and the person you're talking with and your Willie are all walking down the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. Secretly, your friend, who the person's never met, is walking in front of y'all, right?
Yeah.
They just happen to be walking in front of y'all. They drop their wallet.
Okay.
Their entire wallet.
Okay.
Does he call out?
Does who call out?
Does she call out?
Oh, okay.
Hey, sorry, you dropped your wallet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if they end up giving the wallet to the person, credit due. Amazing work.
Yeah.
But you got to stop talking to that person because they just talked to someone else right in front of you. That's crazy behavior. That's insane. That's bad character.
We don't know what they're going to do, right? I mean, they'll return the money, but who are they talking to?
Who are they talking to?
Exactly.
You're right there.
Sign number 3. He respects your boundaries and the boundaries of others. This whole episode could have just been this one sign. This is by and far the most important sign. That he respects your boundaries and the boundaries of other people. When it comes to your boundaries, this tends to be easier to see than the boundaries of other people. Right? So when it comes to your boundaries, it can be something simple like, or you tell them, you ask them, please don't call after a specific time. And then see whether or not they call at that time. Right? Another example is that you state, for example, that you don't like horror movies because any depiction of suffering, even fictional, is too painful. So he just doesn't bring up things that depict any kind of suffering, real or fictional. Because he respects that boundary that you set, or he apologizes when he does accidentally. If you say, another example is if you say that extravagant gifts make you uncomfortable. Let's say the first time he meets you and your family, he brings a super extravagant gift, and you just mentioned to him, "I really appreciate this, but it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable." So then from then on, he sticks to non-extravagant gifts, things that are like under $20. Right? So that's a way that he is respecting your boundaries. Another way that is really important, it relates to what you were talking about before. It's that he tends to be the one who's progressing the relationship forward, asking for whatever is the next step, but he does so at a pace that you are comfortable with. Mm-hmm. That is a super important way to understand that this person is respecting your boundaries. Now, we've spoken about the people who are in the red flag series and manipulators, right? And one of the signs of manipulators. One of the earliest signs of manipulators is that they rush through the relationship. They rush through the talking stage. They're trying to immediately get married. And they're trying to immediately get to a point of unearned emotional intimacy and unearned everything. So if a person or a gentleman is moving at a pace that you're comfortable with, and they're checking in with you and saying, I would really, and then just offhand saying, you and I have been talking for such and such time. I'd really like to meet your family in person. I've only been speaking to so and so, your wali or whoever it is, over the phone. Let me know when is a good time. Like it's open ended, rather than here's a day, like rather than something that's more forceful. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a slight difference there. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, when it comes to whether or not they respect the boundaries of other people, backbiting is a good one. Because if they're willing to backbite or gossip about other people, that means that's a way of disrespecting that person's boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or people talk about this all the time, about how they treat people in positions of service, like waiters, waitresses, is a good one. How they treat their family is probably more important than how they treat your family, because people tend to be on their best behavior with the family of the significant other rather than their own family. So how do they treat their family? Do they speak in a respectful tone to all of the members, especially the children, right? People who are in more vulnerable positions. But backbiting tends to be a really good one. So hopefully that's clear about the respecting of the boundaries. Now, at this point, just before we move on to the fourth sign, if you're single, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but where am I actually supposed to meet people like this? Like people who have good character, like just exhibit all these signs. If you're serious about getting married, but you're not meeting enough of the right people, it usually means that you're not positioning yourself where the right matches can find you. So that's exactly why I created a free challenge called the Tire Camel Challenge, 5 days to meet marriage-minded men. This starts on May the 11th. This starts on May the 11th. I'll be walking you through how to become more visible and intentional in attracting the kind of person that you want to marry. If this sounds like what you need, you can save your seat using the link in the description.
You know what the Star Wars fans say?
What do they say?
May the 11th be with you.
May the 11th be with you?
Yeah.
No one's going to forget it now. Actually, importantly, I don't know why I only put one there, but now there's two. I fixed it. There's 2 1s there. Sign number 4. So sign number 4 is that he is quick to apologize fully. Right? So we've spoken about this a lot when it comes to the red flag series as well, or the signs of manipulators. In fact, you'll notice in general that there's a lot of overlap between people who are manipulators and people who are genuine. A lot of the signs of manipulators are going to be the opposite of the people who are genuine, and vice versa. And so this is one of those places where people who are genuine are very quick to apologize, and they apologize fully and wholly. They are not afraid of accountability. It doesn't make them uncomfortable.
Yeah. It reminds me of that robot, I think it's Hal, right? From that movie. I forget what movie it was, but he would say like, I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. Or I'm sorry, Dave, I'm afraid I can't do that. And he's being sincere. He's being genuine there, right?
Yeah.
And so he apologizes.
Okay, so are these Star Wars characters?
No. It's from some movie. I forget what it is.
Is it? I don't know. C-3PO and Wally are the only and those people from iRobot. Those are the only robots I know about.
It's like HAL 3000 or like something like that. He's like, I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave.
Oh, right? Space Odyssey. Okay. All right. I dated myself a second time.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but yeah.
Yeah.
You know the robot, the one with the red eye?
Unfortunately, I do know
it's like the red dot. Very, very genuine robot.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you're talking about? Where like someone that's sincere, someone that's genuine is upfront and apologizing?
Well, not in that way.
Oh.
That's more of the robot was setting boundaries, which is very good, and I'm happy for the robot because that's a very important skill to have. No, but a different type of apology when somebody has done something wrong or is perceived as wrong.
Oh, not when you're kidnapping someone.
No,
Gotcha.
ideally no. For instance, like let's say they unwittingly crossed the boundary, right? Let's say that they called instead of 6 o'clock, they called at 7:30.
Oh, okay.
But instead of calling, they texted you first because they're respecting the boundary. And they 7:30, they say, "I'm so sorry. I know I was supposed to call at 6, but work ran late with my boss, and this is the earliest that I could have been here. I apologize."
Yeah.
That's a wholehearted apology.
Yeah.
And what's important is they didn't call because you asked them not to call, so they texted, right? So that's a situation where you'd be able to see two signs going on at once.
And I would not arrest them for that either.
Not this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The type of boundary crossing there that's arrestable is the Canadian-American border.
Okay, very interesting.
That's a bad boundary to cross.
All right. I'm just gonna shut down all of the things coming to my mind.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
And we're gonna go straight to sign number 5. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sign number 5, this is one that people tend to overlook, but I think is very important, is your family. So your family has, especially those of the members of your family who are the same gender as this person that you are considering for marriage, are very good at being able to pick up on whether or not they are a manipulator, but also on the other end of whether or not they have good character, right? Like I remember my dad said he liked you, right? When he spoke to you, he said he liked you where he didn't like any of the other people that came before you. Right? So I trusted his opinion that you had good character. So it's just over, like I remember when I was much younger, right? And initial marriage proposals would come in. I think the first one came in when I was in 23 or 24. And my brother would have an opinion, right? And I didn't really take it that seriously. But as he kept having a 100% track record with each person, he'd be like, I don't like this person, I don't like this person, I don't like this person. And he would inevitably be right every single one of the time. I started to learn to take his opinion very seriously. And towards the end, I would just ask him and he'd say, yeah, no, I don't like that person. Just from what he would read from a profile or whatever it is. And I would say, okay, that would be the end of that. And it saved me so much time.
Yeah.
Right. And when a family member comes back and says, I do like this person, that's a very good sign that this person probably has good character. Those are the 5 signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have anyone in your family that liked me?
Yeah, my mom.
Okay, I'm glad.
My dad.
Yeah, I'm glad.
My sister.
So everyone. Yeah. I liked all of them very much too. So that is it for this episode. Is there anything that we're missing?
Yeah, the there's a red flag for number 5.
Oh.
If y'all ever go to any store or whatever and they try to apply for the 5-finger discount.
Yeah, that's not good. It's a clear red flag. You're saying, okay, so because we have audience all over the world, this might be a little bit culture based. The 5-finger discount is just thievery, right?
Yeah.
Just stealing.
Yeah.
So if you're the audacity, you're out with your wali, and this individual just straight up says, you know what, we're not paying for this.
Yeah.
And just walk out of the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The culture, by the way, is un-Islamic culture.
Is it?
Yeah, the 5-finger discount.
You're saying un-Islamic or
un-Islamic
with a UN?
Yeah,
because it's very different from an.
The not Islamic
there
culture.
You go.
Yeah,
I was like, I didn't see that hadith. I was confused for a second. Okay, so I think that's everything. If you have made it this far with us, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr, we sincerely appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us. We know how important that is, especially these days. If you have not subscribed to our channel on YouTube, even if you're on a different podcast platform, it would really help us out if you could go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Jazaa K'Allah Khayr for that help. If you are a woman who is serious about finding a spouse for marriage and you would like help with that, sign up for the Tire Camel Challenge coming up on May the 11th. Not the 1st, the 11th. And finally, if you would like some help on understanding whether or not a person you're speaking to is compatible, you can find the link for that in the description below. That's everything. Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Everybody stay safe and have a wonderful week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.